Hello, my name is Dave, and welcome to another episode of the Points of Articulation. I always wanted to do a film review, so I thought, hell, I just saw Blair Witch, maybe I should do that. This review will have spoilers, just to let you know. The film is a direct sequel to the Blair Witch Project, which was released in 1999. It totally ignores the Book of Shadows crap. This review will be a brief synopsis, and I really want to talk about the ending, because to me that was probably the best part. And then how I felt about it. So let's get started. The film opens with a YouTube video similar to the ending of the Blair Witch Project. Watching this is our new main characters. We got Lisa, Peter, Ashley, and James. And James is the brother of Heather, who is the main character from the Blair Witch Project, the first film. Now James decides to find the man who found this footage and search for his sister that he thinks he sees in the clip. Lisa, who is doing some sort of documentary project for, I believe, a college class, she gets all these gadgets, like a camera drone, a static cameras that can latch onto trees and film, and even cameras that go into people's ears and basically can see everything they see. So she decides to film James's hunt for answers. At first it's just a hunt for his sister, but slowly turns into another Blair Witch movie. The core characters meet up with the YouTube poster, whose name is Lane. He and his girlfriend join them in their quest to find the sister. At this point, they enter the woods, and they find a tree, which is apparently struck by lightning, and the DV tapes or data sticks were found under the tree. Now remember that tree, because it's going to come into play at the end of the film. After this scene, we begin to get some creepy stories about the Blair Witch and the area, which is quite effective in setting a creepy mood, much like sitting at a campfire and listening to scary stories. Lane and his girlfriend set up a hoax with these stick statues or figures from the first film. And basically they're caught, and the main four core characters decide, listen, you're on your own, go find your car by yourselves, we're out of here. So the four main characters look for their car in one direction, following the GPS, and Lane and his girlfriend go another direction. At this point, the film goes into full swing. We get the crew's GPS lying, so they end up at the campsite from the night before. We get Lane and his girlfriend appearing in the middle of the night saying it's been 6 days. They look raggedy, they're dirty, their hair is messed up and different. We see stick figures, the rock piles, tons of scary, loud sounds in the middle of the woods. And one by one, the characters are dragged away by an unseen entity into the darkness of the forest. And what sets this mood in the film, towards the end, which is what I'm at now, is you're in the forest, it's pitch black. The only light you have is what is on the cameras, or the flashlights, which each character has one. And now it starts to rain. Torrential downpours, thunder and lightning, and tons of screaming. It's chaos. It's building that feeling of hopelessness and anarchy, madness. And then we're left with two characters, Lisa and James. And they stumble upon the house from the ending of the Blair Witch Project, the first film. So at this house, James looks up, and he sees what he thinks is his sister moving through the window. So he decides he's running in there. He's got to find his sister. He's got to save the day. He runs up there. He's going upstairs. The place is very dirty. It's run down. It's falling apart. And he's checking room to room. Or, if the door is open, he goes in and looks. And he sees what looks to be his sister. And it's like a ghost, and his camera dies, and every time the lightning flickers, this image gets closer and closer to him, and it's really creepy. So then we cut away, and now we're with our character, who basically takes the reins of this film, Lisa, and she goes into the house. But before she does, the part that really separates this from the original, she turns the camera, and the light shines on what I can only describe as what many of you would consider the rake, which is a cryptozoology animal. Much like Bigfoot or the Mothman, the rake is a gangly-looking creature with elongated arms and legs, very pale. This one had a little maroon to it. Friggin' creepy. When I saw it in the theater, I never was afraid, but it catches you off guard, and I guess you could say I got shocked. And I was like, "Whoa, that's what the hell is that thing?" Like that in the seat. And this creature chases her through the house. It's screaming, it's yelling. She runs in the basement. She's looking for James, even though he's towards the attic. And all of a sudden, who comes out? It's Lane, with a full-on beard and long hair. He's like, "Oh my God, you look just like I remember you." Because I guess now with the time distillation, it's been a couple months or maybe a year, who knows. And he basically says, "You have to do what the witch says." And he throws her into this, basically like a pit. And he shuts the door, and she's locked down there. If anybody's claustrophobic, like I am, they're going to freak out at this part. It's small, it's dark, and basically picture a rectangle. And at the bottom of the rectangle, there's 2 holes. And in those holes, it's like a rabbit or a fox dug them. So you see like roots, water dripping, but it's all dirt, and it's small. It's very tight. And this girl, I guess you could say she is petite, and she climbs through this, and I could just feel the tension. Because once you hear this Blair Witch creature starting to, I guess, yell and come after her, like me as a theater goer, I was like, "Come on, man, get the hell out of there. Jesus, he's right there. It's building the tension. You're trapped. There's nowhere to go. It's pitch black. You're stuck. It's wet. It's cold. And this thing is behind you, and it's gonna get you." And she gets to the end. She breaks a wall with the knife she had in her pocket, like a pocket knife. And she falls out, and it's the same room that the guy put her in the floor, but now she's in the wall. So it's like, whoa, this house is a fun house now. And he comes after her. He starts to, like, I guess, strangle her or try to, and she stabs him in the neck with this knife. And then she hears the yell of the creature. She moves the bookcase to the wall, and it's reaching at her with this long, gangly, maroonish tan hand. And she just books it right straight upstairs towards the attic. And this thing is chasing her up the stairs, screaming. All you hear is yelling, the thunder, the lightning, the rain is still hitting. It's building up all those senses of, you're basically screwed and there's nothing you could do. And she gets to the attic and shuts the door, and she finds James, and James goes, "Listen, you gotta look into the corner and don't turn around, because if you stare at it, it's basically a sacrifice and it's gonna kill you." And this is where the creature breaks down the door. We see some sort of bright lights and a whoa, 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 whoa sound, which made me go like, aliens. And from this point, it's like a mental flick for about the last 2 minutes. And it's basically this creature can imitate voices or people. So it acts like James's sister, but we don't hear it, only James does. And he starts talking, so Lisa goes, "Who you talking to?" And I think he said something about Heather, and he turns around, boom, taken. So now she's left alone, and she can't look at the creature, so she has to use the viewfinder of the DV camera, the view screen, and has it over her shoulder, and she's watching, and you see thunder and lightning and all this stuff going on. And she's crying, and there's like snot coming out of her nose and tears and complete fear and chaos. And you see this creature again, and it knows it's being filmed, so it runs out of the frame. And it is so creepy. And she gets to a doorway, and right before she walks through, you hear James's voice say, "Lisa, I'm so sorry." So she thinks it's him, which it's not. And she turns around, and boom, the movie ends. And if you've been paying attention to the film, you understand that the footage of her stuck in that house looking for James and running from this creature is the same footage that got them to go on this expedition in the first place. So the whole movie was a time travel loop. Mind blown. And my verdict is the movie is great. I think it lives up to the first in its own way. Is it perfect? No. But the fact that it's similar to the first, it has all the beats. And everything from the first it has, and it does it decent. But what breaks this movie apart is where the first one is a more mental film. Like, it makes you think. This one sort of kills the mysticism and adds tons more to the universe that these films take place in. Because in the first one, you had people staring in a corner, you heard the sounds, there was body parts and wrapped up in twigs. But in this film, you saw the creature. You saw its mental games, you saw what takes to people. But what it does is it makes more questions. Is it an alien? Is that what we saw with the lights taking off or landing or something like that? Is it a shapeshifter? Is it from Earth? Is it a ghost? Is it the Blair Witch? Is it something else? Is it the Rake? And it has all these questions, and I mean, you could literally probably write papers on this film about all the possibilities, and you could probably make dozens of movies. And to be honest, I hope they do. There's so much that they can do with this genre now, based on what is in this film, and they give you just enough to make you wonder without ruining anything. And I think for that, it's decent. And on one hand, if you paid attention to the movie, Lan would say, oh, they tied the Blair Witch up and put rocks on her arms and legs and tied her high in a tree. And basically she stayed there till she died. And if you look at the creature, the arms and legs are hanging. So it kind of makes sense that it could be the Blair Witch. But also it could be anything. And I think that's where this movie excels, in that if you have an imagination and you're not a robot and you could think for yourself and make up stuff, I think this is a really great movie to get a bunch of friends together, maybe have a couple drinks or whatever, and you sit there, watch this movie, and then discuss it at the end. How does it make you feel? What do you think it is? And stuff like that. I think it's a great film in that aspect. I'm not really a fan of new horror movies at all, but the Blair Witch stands out to me. I think it brings the nostalgia from the first film, but it also, since it is a sequel, I don't feel like I'm being ripped off, that it's like a reboot or something like that. I feel like it tried, I guess its best, to be something different, but at the same time the same. To make you remember the good times, but also, hey, here's some extra stuff right at your way. It's probably not just a witch, it could be something else, bada bim, bada boom. And, I applaud you. You did a good job. My sister and her boyfriend Tom, who saw it with me, they both liked it. People were jumping in the theater. It was a good time. So, that does it for my review. My verdict: go see it. It's worth it. If you're a fan of horror movies or the original Blair Witch, just go see it. I recommend a theater with good sound, because a lot of the film, it plays with you with the audio. So, get some popcorn, get some good friends, have fun. And that does it for my first movie review, Blair Witch, from 2016. I know it's probably not the best review. I never did one before, so it's more of an experiment for myself to see if I can do it. But thank you very much for watching or listening, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.